Hi everybody, it's Hal Weeks for Stalking the Wild Auto Harp, and I am coming to you from Bagel Auto Harps in not so sunny SeaTac, Washington, and I'm flanked by two Desert Roses auto harps on my right, and on my left. One's a right-handed and one's a left-handed. But which is which? Seems pretty clear, right? The one on my left is the right, and the one on my right is the left, right? Not so fast. This is a complicated issue, and we're going to sort through it today. So join me at my desk, and we'll be talking about it. Hello, everybody. As I said, I'm going to be talking with you about left-handed and right-handed auto harps, upright and down flat, and they are actually opposite and interlock with each other. And it's very confusing. It's very, it's a real tweak for my listexia. And so hang with me. Right-handers, if you are thinking left-hand auto harps have nothing to do with you, think again and stick around to see why, because you might just want a left-handed auto harp so that you can play right-handed down flat. And I'm going to talk about that, and it's not even that simple. So I'm going to talk about why. I'm going to talk about the history of this a little bit. First, I want to talk about my own story here, not specifically auto harp related, but it is handed related. I lived for 50 years as a left-handed person, and just identified as a left-handed person, and I wrote with my left hand all the time. And about 5 years ago, I decided to try writing with my right hand because I had noticed myself one time. I was doing a presentation for kids and we were writing a song together, and I had my auto harp on. So I was reaching up. I couldn't reach the whiteboard with my left hand. And so I was starting to write with my right hand on the whiteboard, and I didn't even realize that I was doing it. And when I caught myself writing with my right hand, I was like, huh. And I looked at the writing, and it was actually fairly neat. Anyway, flash forward lots of years, and I decided that I have switched so many times from left hand to right hand to work with right-handed utensils, because the whole world is set up for right-handers, not left-handers. That I was finding it easier and easier to do that. Now, lefties, you may have different experience than I do, but I found myself starting to be very right-handed, and I had learned to play the auto harp right-handed using my right hand picking and upright the way most people do. And so I was already right hand dominant in a lot of ways. I had lots of right hand fine motor skills and dexterity that I did not have in my left hand. Whenever I played piano, my left hand was kind of weak, and it got worse. I think I had a TIA, a mini stroke, back when I was 27 years old. Yes. From chiropractic treatment, another story for another time. But since that time, I think I lost some stuff on my left side. But my right side was great. And so I have all this fine motor skill in my right hand, but my left hand was sticking on as my writing hand. And so about 5 years ago, I decided, hey, I'm going to try to write with my right hand. And I sat down at a table with a notebook and a nice pen, and I started to write with my right hand. And it only took me about, I don't know, I think it was about 25 to 30 minutes. And it really started to flow, and I was starting to get the hang of it. And after another session of that, I was writing better with my right hand than with my left hand. When I write with my left hand, it cramps within minutes. And you have to understand that a left-handed writing device, let me get out my space pen here, Seinfeld aside, the space pen, which is always in my pocket. When I write with my left hand, a ballpoint pen, the ball is being pushed up into the ink reservoir, and that stops the ink. And the language, which goes from left to right, because it's a right-handed language in a right-handed person's world, your hand crosses over the ink, it smears it, and you get ink all over your hand. And well, everybody knows this, but the pen doesn't work as well. And I discovered this when I started writing with my right hand, and the words just flowed, especially cursive, and I started enjoying it. And I could write pages and pages and pages and pages right-handed, and I write constantly now with my right hand. So am I right-handed after all? Was I all along? I don't know, but it was interesting to discover that, and it's been an interesting process. And it is recommended to folks who are aging to start using the opposite hand to keep your brain sharp. And so I'm doing that. And lefties, I highly recommend this. And righties, I highly recommend this too. But you know what, righty? It's going to be harder for you to go and start writing with your left hand because you're not used to doing this. Lefties are used to changing constantly. And you would be amazed at the number of right-handed devices there are in the world, things you don't even think about that are right-handed. And I'm not going to go into this because it will really veer off of autoharps, but it is an amazing discussion. Just because an autoharp is opposite of how it's normally built does not necessarily make it a left-handed autoharp. If I were to play this in this position, we would call this a left-handed autoharp because I'm picking with my left hand, and I can't. You'd think I could because I'm a lefty, right? Right? Left? I can't play like this. But this is actually a right-handed autoharp for somebody playing down flat. An autoharp in this position is perfect for a right-handed individual like me. See, I'm confused. To play down flat. And I've actually pre-made some pictures, some film, and I can do voice over. The lefty autoharp laid down flat is in perfect position for the right-handed player because the nice long strings are laid out accordingly, and you can play without crossing your hands. If you play a right-handed autoharp down flat and you want to play right-handed, you have to cross hands to do it. Therefore, it's really a left-handed autoharp, isn't it? Well, not so fast, because there is the historic precedent. The autoharp was invented to be played down flat, but you played at the other end, down below the chord bars. I will be showing you that in a minute. So there's 4 playing positions for the autoharp. There's this way for the left hand upright. There's this way for the right hand down flat. Then, let me get the other harp. there's this way for the right hand, upright, and this way for the left hand, down flat. But it's not that simple. Confused? It's about to get a lot more confusing because the chord bars reverse themselves when you lay it down flat. They reverse themselves end to end and side to side. And so you have to adjust by refelting the inner and outer rows and rearranging all of the rows. So the case of this autoharp, which is a standard orientation autoharp, when I play in this position with my hand, my left hand, my button hand, coming in this way, it comes in over the treble side of the instrument into the buttons. But when I play down flat, now my left hand is coming in across the bass side rail onto the buttons, and the buttons have reversed themselves from the position this way to this way. So you have to rearrange the buttons so that this button goes here and this button goes here. And so they have to all rearrange this way so that your circle fifths goes the opposite way. And then this side has to come up here and this side has to go down here. Confused? I bet. What this means is that you can set up an autoharp for down flat, or you can set it up for upright. But if you're going to go back and forth, it's going to reverse in the buttons, just like your hands reverse. And so it's not quite so easy to set yourself up just laying your harp down and playing, because the buttons are all going to be backwards and you're going to have to cross hands. What happens if you want one autoharp and you want to go back and forth between down flat and upright? Well, then you're going to have to deal with the reversal of your chord bar buttons in one situation, and you're going to have to play crossed hands unless you play down at the bottom, which you can certainly do. You could play down there and then play up and cover it that way. You'd probably want fewer chord bars down at the bottom of your autoharp, maybe a 15 chord or something, so that you had room to do that. What about standing up and playing down flat? Well, obviously, when you play tabletop, you can get an adjustable table, and they do make adjustable tables with adjustable legs so that you can set the height, stand up, and put it on a table. There's also laptop stands, which are quite tall, and you could probably adapt those to hold an autoharp, or a keyboard stand. I have actually seen one person who had a setup that used a strap, and strapped around the middle, strapped around the neck, but it held the autoharp in against the body. Let me move this so I can show you. She was standing up, and she could move around, but the autoharp was strapped against her body and around the neck like this, and she could play like this as she moved around. So you could devise something like that, but really, and this is important for all lap style and tabletop playing, and that is that you need to adjust the angle so that your fingers are ergonomic, because if you are playing in this position, then you can get into a situation where one or the other of your hands is in this position all the time, and that can be bad for your ergonomics, bad for your wrists, and that is not a good situation. And then you get into it, if you're playing cross hands, you get into it here while you're doing this. And that is not a good situation. So by turning the harp out like this, then that takes that out, and you're playing in this position. No cocked wrists as well as crossed hands. And your crossed hands in a lot of positions is minimized because they're not conflicting, because this has been pulled back like this. So it's more out of the way. And so if you're going to play with some kind of harness so that you can stand up, it's got to accommodate for this twist or this turn out one way or the other. The other auto harp would turn out this way. If I had a lap style down flat with my my mirrorized body that is opposite, okay, like this and like this, not bad, but you see this? That's probably what you want to avoid. So you want to turn this way. That gets rid of this, changes some of your angles here, but you can play like this. Here's another thing. This harp, you can tell it's set up for a right-handed person to play down flat because the labels are up here so that you can see them while you're working, up here. We put the labels on the tops of the buttons for somebody who plays upright. So there you have it, folks. That's some of the confusing issues of left hand, right hand, left hand, what's right, what's wrong, what's right, what's incorrect. There is no incorrect. I've seen people play upside down, literally, like this. I've seen people play like this. Yes, it is possible. You can play like this. Why not? It works. It really does. So, well, I kind of liked that. So maybe you are a player who struggled to get your arms around, or struggled with some shoulder problems or wrist problems or short arms, and struggled with getting your arms around a full-size auto harp. Play down flat. There's nothing wrong with it. As a matter of fact, there's a lot that's right with it. A lot of advantages. There's all kinds of opportunities for you to amplify the auto harp naturally through a table or through a box that do not arise when you're playing upright. And so playing down flat is great. It's great. And so if you really want to play the auto harp and you're struggling with your instrument, getting your arms around it, it's because you're trying to play upright. Play down flat. Highly recommended. If you are a fan of Stalking the Wild Auto Harp, I would appreciate your support over on my Patreon, because I work hard putting these videos together and taking the time out from my work schedule to make them for you, and it helps me keep going and keeps me motivated to continue to make these videos. And I could not and would not do it without my patrons on Patreon. It's an old, historic, traditional way to support artists, is to be their patrons. And the modern term is Patreon. So help me by Patreoning over at patreon.com/HalWeeks. Remember that I teach right here from this very chair every day through Zoom. I can work with you to teach you auto harp, whatever style you play, wherever you are in the world, whatever you want to work on, I can work on with you. So there you have it. Thanks for watching Stalking the Wild Auto Harp. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.